The action in The Mandalorian Chapter 12, The Siege, came to an absolute standstill when Din, Cara, and Greef realized that the supposed outpost base was in fact a secret laboratory that had something to do with the project that the client needed the child for. Since Friday, I think we've all been theorizing what weird thing could be floating in that tank. I've seen a lot of wild ones out there, and I just wanted to share mine.
Who's scruffy looking?
Welcome back to the Talking with My Aunt channel, everybody. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, I would highly recommend doing so. Just saying, we do all sorts of fun Star Wars videos, and I know you guys are into that, so feel free to join the community. Anyway, we have to talk about Chapter 12 of The Mandalorian. I actually conveniently glossed over this crazy part of the episode where Din and the gang stumble across Gideon's mad scientist experiment that we were introduced to back in Season 1. There's been a ton of speculation as to what Dr. Pershing is talking about regarding the subject he's trying to transfuse blood into and what or who that thing was inside the tank. Before I get into my own speculations, I have to say this. It's just fun to be able to speculate about Star Wars again. It's been a while since we as a collective fandom were all genuinely curious about one singular topic, and it's been a blast over on Twitter reading some of your comments and speculations about the thing in the vat. Some of the ones I have been reading are wild. One of you said that this could possibly be a Vader clone, even though burning his whole body was a thing that actually happened. One of you also said that you think this could be a Thrawn trilogy rehash and that these things in the vax could be Luke's, literal evil Luke Skywalker clones conjured up by Moff Gideon. Yeah, no thank you. Disgusting! But what about my predictions? What do I think could happen with the Moff Gideon secret project that he and Dr. Pershing are working on at the current moment? Well, I actually have two ideas. I have a sort of safe prediction that I don't think is too out there or outlandish, considering that we are talking about secret cloning here, and I have one more wild one that I don't think is the case, but I do think would be so super cool to see in the series. So make sure you watch all the way through to the end of the video to hear that one. Here's what I don't think, though. I don't think that these things being grown in the tanks and are trying to make Force-sensitive blood are Snoke or Snokes or whatever these things are these days. There's really no evidence to support that Snoke/Snokes were grown anywhere outside of Exegol. Snoke was more of a Palpatine proxy project rather than something the First Order or Sith Eternal or Imperial Remnant would want to make to help rule the galaxy. Snoke was more of a shogun figurehead for the First Order and more served as a way for Palpatine to unite Ben, Solo, and Rey. However, Snoke does come into play in my later theory if you stick around for that one. So, my first prediction, my safe prediction, if you will. Remember, we're talking about a secret Imperial Remnant project on a backworld that involves cloning or growing humanoids and transfusing Force-sensitive blood.
Wow.
So, this is going to seem wild, but it's really not in comparison to some of the theories that I've seen. I think that Moff Gideon is experimenting on non-Force users to one day be able to clone a Force-sensitive militia. Now, I know that seems crazy, but hear me out. Moff Gideon has no way of detecting the few and far between Force sensitives left in the galaxy. But if he can transfuse the blood of just one Force sensitive into other bodies, that suddenly makes him a much more powerful Moff amongst his peers. The only proof I have for the cloning of Force sensitives already would be that Dr. Pershing is very clearly seen wearing the Kaminoan emblem on his shoulder during the first season. He could be one of the scientists the Empire kept that knew the secrets of cloning. Of course, there is a precedent for this. The Empire in Legends, and Darth Vader in particular, tried to clone Starkiller in The Force Unleashed 2. It was incredibly difficult, and just like in The Mandalorian, he mentions that the side effects are very complicated, and most of the time the cloning just doesn't work.
They are memories of a dead man, a side effect of the cloning process and the memory flashes used to train you. They will fade.
And remember, this is the Imperial Remnant we're talking about. Everything is about prestige. Individual remnants are basically as much at war with each other as they are with the New Republic. Only the strongest remnants will survive in the post-Palpatine Empire. Moff Gideon is surely looking at ways he can both defeat his own enemies and make sure that his one-time allies stay below him on the food chain. If he has enemies with Mandalorians, which considering he is the current wielder of the Darksaber, I'm sure he does, then there would be no better way to combat them than with an army of Force sensitives that he can brainwash himself. Then, if other remnants try to take over, he can still counter anything they might have with these Force-wielding beings loyal to him. Now, my other theory. It's a little more out there. However, in the context of the entire saga and how everything transpires between Return of the Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, I think there could possibly be another theory. What if Moff Gideon is one of the early members of the Sith Eternal and is one of the ones working to perfect cloning for Force-sensitive bodies for Palpatine to use? We know that the Sith Eternal was started as a safeguard for Palpatine's death sometime during the Clone Wars and has members that were highly ranked in the Empire.
As I served you in the old wars, I serve you now.
Upon his eventual betrayal, Palpatine transfers his consciousness into his clone body almost instantly as he's falling to his death on the second Death Star. The Rise of Skywalker novelization makes it seem like it was very rapid, so to have Moff Gideon still working on ways to clone Palpatine nearly 6 years later really just wouldn't make any sense. But Palpatine's appearance in the opening scenes of The Rise of Skywalker show he is very much a shell of a man. He's hooked to a million tubes, he rides on that claw, his eyes are whitewashed, and his body is essentially a wreck. Could Moff Gideon still be looking for ways to improve clone Palpatine's quality of life? Or could Gideon be part of the project that would eventually become building Snoke or the Strand-cast Palpatine clones like the one that eventually becomes Rey's father? Just so everyone is clear, that's my wild theory. I think it will be a great way to rope the two trilogies together, and I also think it allows the Mandalorian to show us the Sith Eternal again and bring in the seeds of the First Order, which is something I really want to see at some point in this show regardless. Do I think that either of these are likely? Kinda. I feel much more confident in my first prediction, but we might not know until the end of the season, or maybe not until next season. We'll all have to wait and find out together. Leave your theories in the comments below, and let me know what you think Gideon is scheming up. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.